So welcome to tonight's offering. We're going to do some restorative yoga tonight. So we're going to start with a little sit, just settle, arrive fully. So find something comfortable to sit on. A nice hefty cushion or a bolster, or whatever works for you. Maybe that's a chair. And we settle in. We find our seat. And we prepare the ground for our practice tonight. So, resting the hands, relaxing the body into the posture. And start to lower your gaze or close your eyes completely. Step down inside. Soften. And just start to bring your awareness to your breath. Breathing naturally. We just simply follow the breath. Finding that space in the body where you feel the movement of the breath the most. Feeling the expansion as you breathe in. And a soft release as you breathe out. And the breath starts to settle and smooth all by itself. We expand our awareness to the whole body. Feeling the shape of the legs from the points of contact, the feet, and the floor, the knees and the floor, the hands on the legs, the sitting bones on your seat, the spine rising tall through the crown of the head, and the face softening, the jaw softening, the shoulders softening, the elbows softening. rising and falling. Awareness of the whole body, awareness of the breath. Coming home to this moment. And here we are. So let's just blink the eyes open or raise the gaze. We're going to move very slowly into our next position. So, restorative yoga. You want as many props as you've got. So bring your bolster to the top of your mat. And one of your hips, I've got my left hip there, just next to the bottom of the bolster. And you place both hands either side of the bolster. And then you want to turn so that your midline starts to rest over the bolster. Now, if that's too much of a twist with the hip here, what you need to do is you need to lift that left hip, move it slightly back so that you can turn your belly button and your center of your body over the bolster. And then simply drape your body over. And maybe using another cushion for your head, or maybe you can relax down. Try it with, try it without. Feels better with for me today. But listen to your own body. So we call this side slumber. I call it side slumber. I think it's, it's some form of twist. I can't remember the proper name for it. We've got 5 minutes here. It's really important to get comfortable and feel like you can just relax into it, start to soften the body, and step again down inside to the internal world. So the position of your legs doesn't really matter, just as again, it's being comfortable while you're still feeling a little twist through the back and through the abdomen. And then ask yourself how you could soften even more. Is there another little prop you need? I need something for my left arm because my elbow doesn't quite reach the ground properly. So be greedy with those props. And then settle on down. Position of the head again is your personal choice. I've got it turned the same way as my knees. Some people can actually turn it completely the opposite direction. You can give that a try and maybe use an extra prop. Sometimes if you position the hands just right under the head, then that can work too. But which one is the most relaxing? Soften into that shape. Come into the moment through the body, through the breath. So it's a good idea to have that awareness of the whole body, just checking in that we're all feeling soft and safe. Any points of tension, we can help with those props or with the direction of our breath. Taking the breath to those spaces that are calling out for a little bit more attention. And as you exhale through those spaces, you can take the tension out through the nearest point of contact with the floor. And imagine it like a little tap or a drain. And each time you exhale, you release that tension like a liquid down through that point of contact into the ground, into the earth. Just a couple of breaths left here. And then let's slowly lift up, not very far to move at all, because all we're going to do is come around up onto our knees really slowly, easy, and take a child's pose, any version that works for you. So if you don't want to sit back on the knees, you can elevate the hips and elevate your bolster so that you are having the hips high and the head lower over the bolster. That can be easy for the knees, or you take that nice wide-kneed posture and we center into the middle in our child's pose before we return to the other side. We've got 5 minutes here. Always feel free to adjust your posture if 5 minutes starts to feel too long. Now with the head here, there are options because you're turning the head to one side in the twist, and when we go to the other side you'll be turning it to opposite direction. So here in the middle, what are your choices? Well, you could have your head to one side, that's entirely up to you. The other option is you do one of either a neck extension, so dropping the chin forward so that you have a little stretch through the front of the neck, healthy compression into the back of the neck. Or you can drop the forehead down and maybe make a pillow for your forehead with your hands so you can breathe in that little space. Or you turn the head every now and again. The advantages of having the chin forward is that if you work on a screen or even if you're on your mobile phone a lot, we tend to have our head slightly forward of our neck when we're looking at screens, and this shortens the ligaments either side of the neck vertebrae, and we end up with not very much movement, and we start to lose the natural curve that is in the cervical vertebrae, the neck vertebrae. So you could try it even just for a few breaths and then take your neck to a softer space. I quite like having my neck forward, my chin forward, but some people it doesn't work, pinches nerves, and that's not good. Oh, we've only got a few breaths left here, so hopefully you've managed to soften in and find your own version. So we slowly start to release, and not much, very far to go. All you need to do is slip the right hip. So sitting on your side, putting the right hip against the bolster. And I've got my back to you. I'll just swap you don't have to swap your bolster around, you can just move around. But you want your right hip close-ish to the edge of the bolster and just sitting in a quite nice relaxed posture, and then turning, planting the hands, seeing how that feels. Is that too tight a twist? If so, take that right hip a little bit further back and drape yourself over. Decide which way you want the head. Make those little micro adjustments to really find that place where you can start to relax. Sink down to the floor, into the pose. Closing the eyes if that feels relaxing. So Beltane is on its way. It's a full moon tomorrow, the lunar Beltane. I've got something here in my little diary. It's a really nice diary. It's Earth Pathways diary, keeping our connection to the land. And it says about Beltane, the wisdom of the season. Beltane is raw physical power, rising in sap and root and shoot. At Beltane, go deep into your body, for there lies truth and wisdom. Feel. Seek out the delight of physical tiredness. Walk. Work in the garden. Dance. Run. Whatever makes you feel your body working. Whatever your physical limits, even if standing or raising your hands is as much as you can do, move your body. Feel it stretch. Feel how amazing it is. Change is everywhere. All is growing. All is moving, becoming. Leaves unfurling. Flowers opening. Bare soil is covered with green. Change is constant throughout the seasons, and never more so than at the fertile festival of Beltane. Accept that change can be beautiful. Embrace the possibilities it brings. If you could harness the glowing power of the Beltane fire, what would you do with that limitless energy? What might burst forth? How would you find and make positive use of this season's strength and warmth? We've got a few breaths left here. And then we're going to slowly lift ourselves up. Just pop the bolster to the side for a moment. Coming around onto our bottoms and finding a really soft version of butterfly. So maybe you're sitting on a cushion, a little cushion to elevate the hips, which will help your pelvis to naturally tilt forward. And then maybe a bolster on top or blanket, and settling in using whatever props you need, whether you sit cupping the chin in the hands, or some people, let me show you this other variation. This is really nice. Call this the Winnie the Pooh hugging the honey pot. So you turn your bolster long end and put your head, you pop your forehead on it and hug that bolster in, or you just pop your chin on it, wherever is going to be comfortable, and hug it in. So even if you can't fold forward very far, this can be really nourishing. You find the right props and you give yourself that support wherever you are. 5 minutes. And I'm going to read a little story. It will go for The Wood in Winter by John Lewis Stempel. I stopped at the wood on my way home, lurching the Land Rover up on the verge. It was late for a winter's afternoon, say around 3. My family used to own Poole Wood. To come back without authority was an awkward trespass. The sky was off-white. To get into the wood from the lane, I climbed over the iron field gate. This had galvanized the cold of centuries in its bars. Some rooks flew overhead, not the usual ragged, weary flight to roost, but an awing deep and strong with their wings. They flew as straight as crows. In the trees I felt safe from prying eyes, just another dark vertical shape among others, a human tree trunk. Anyway, no one comes looking for you in a wood. I went to Poole Wood deliberately, so that I might find a certain thing. I followed the path hollowed into the pink clay by generations of badgers. It went on and on through the vast silence and the leafless trees, their branches made for a perpetual wire cage overhead. No birds sang. The solitary tree creeper searched an alder's bark, in much the same way a caretaker will check under the auditorium seats for rubbish after a concert. Gosh, life is hard for the birds in winter. How dismal the jay's nest looked against the blank sky. I reached the oak grove in rapidly descending dusk. Often oaks will keep their leaves until February. On that Christmas Eve, the oaks were temple pillars of lost civilization. They had no more botany than stone. From one ivy-clad ruin, a wren, as small as a moth, peered at me. It was too feeble to tisk its default alarm. At the fork in the path by the beach stand, I did not haver. I went left. The other path, down through the dingle, ends in the year AD 01 or thereabouts. It is a path back through time, because at its terminus are clumped 3 wild service trees. The trio of Sorbus terminalis are a remnant of the original wild wood. Poole Wood existed when William conquered. It existed when the Romans trod their road to Hereford. Only Brock has been resident longer. ground was bitter hard, and the previous night's frost had frozen solid the usual toadstool smell of woodland. Let's just pause there and slowly release from this posture. Take your bolster down the end of your mat and slowly make your way onto your back. All the way down. Give your knees just a gentle draw in and have a little circle or a little sway. Just easing out. And then we're going to roll that bolster or whatever prop you've got. If you haven't got a bolster, you use a block, 2 blocks and a blanket. You're drawing it, you're going to lift your hips, draw it under your hips and even further up so that the top edge of your bolster is kind of in line with your waist. So you're getting a little back bend. You've got your feet flat on the mat and the knees pointing up. And just plant your feet where you can relax. So have a little walk out, have a little walk in, see where you want those feet. And then you're just going to simply relax here. So the arms anywhere you like. Some people have them above the head. Some people have them out to the sides. I like them just down, resting at my side, make my hands on the bolster. So we're getting a little back bend here. This is called supported bridge. And we're getting all the benefits of being slightly inverted. So we're getting some of the first of the blood flow coming up from the thighs, down, feeding the heart, and the heart blood even further down towards the brain, feeding the brain. Very good for maintaining brain function. And lessening the chances of dementia and Alzheimer's. So 5 minutes. And I'll read you the rest of the story. So the ground was bitter hard, and the previous night's frost had frozen solid the usual toadstool smell of woodland. There was just the exhilarating purity of ice, a wipe clean of the senses. A strong rope of rank scent stretched across the path at one point, the odour of a vixen. Like Brock, Reynard is another ancient landowner. Humans never really own the land, do they? It belongs to the eternal animals. Rabbits had scratched at a pollarded alder, causing pale sores on its snaking raised roots. Deep into the wood, I startled a pheasant under briars, or rather, it startled me, racing headlong for takeoff, wings whistling, eyes staring, beak shrieking, feathers caught in the bramble's barbs fluttered up. Deer had been nibbling the briar's leaves, their habitual iron rations on days like these. I began to hurry because of the shivering cold. I had forgotten my gloves. We no longer fear winter like people did when their clothes were thin and they were forced to be out in the woods, gathering fuel, chopping trees, or as I had been earlier, tending sheep. Shakespeare mentions the fear of Samhain's cold over and over in the poem Winter he wrote. When all about the wind doth blow, and coughing drowns the parson's saw, and birds sit brooding in the snow, and Marian's nose looks red and raw. And in King Lear, the haunting line of Edgar, still through the hawthorn blows the cold wind. People claim they enjoy winter, but what they actually mean is they enjoy winter as a livener, quick tease of the elements before resorting to their central heating. For anyone working outdoors, winter hurts. The great empty trees, the solitude, the early falling gloom, bone sticks snapping under rushing feet. Then I reached the clearing, and there, holding court in the centre, was the lone holly tree. Let's just release from here, so you're not actually going to move very far. All I want you to do is move your bolster just slightly south. Is that right? No, I don't know. Slightly towards your feet, so that it's more under the hips this time, and you're going to bring your legs up. So position that bolster where it feels right, under your hips, so you can bring your legs up and you can just relax there. If you prefer, you can find a wall and just put your legs up the wall. That can be nice too. We've got 5 minutes here as we finish the rest of the story. Now 5 minutes for some people in legs up, they get a bit fidgety. You can always take a minute here and then swap your leg position. Maybe take the prayer feet and the knees out and the feet down, or a little inverted butterfly. So don't feel like you have to stay like a statue. But it's a nice feeling to just drop the legs into those big hip sockets. Close the eyes. Relax on down. So, he's reached the clearing, and there holding court in the centre was the lone holly tree. Just as always, and she, because berries only grow on female trees, she was festooned with berries, just as always. It was a year of holly berry dearth. The Viking birds, the redwings, and the fieldfares had descended from the north and plundered all the other hollies for miles around. The scarlet and the green of the holly was shockingly vivid on that midwinter afternoon. The holly was queen of the wood, arrayed in her finest. I had hardly dared hope she would still be standing, let alone bountiful with berries. It was over 20 years since I had last seen her. Holly is the symbol of Christ, and was for centuries the physical mnemonic to remind us that Mary Mary bore sweet Jesus Christ on Christmas Day in the morn, because its berries are red like his blood, its prickles sharp as any thorn are akin to the Messiah's crown, and its leaves evergreen, an arboreal metaphor for eternal life. Is the nativity superstition? Perhaps, but my grandparents believed it. And so I was sent every Christmas Eve to get the holly from the tree in the middle of Poole Wood. In the summer my grandparents decked their house with hops. At Yuletide with the holly and the ivy. As a good grandson of the country, I do not care to be without holly at Christmas. Lacking a knife, gingerly I tore off 5 sprigs of holly, though not carefully enough, and shaving spots of blood appeared on my hands. The berries were best lower down, where the leaves were sharpest. But nature always does a little bit of pain with the game. As a boy and man, my grandfather had gathered holly from the tree in the clearing. On that Christmas Eve, I was his picture echo down the century. It was as I turned to go that it started snowing. The snow was harsh and shimmered noisily. A wood on a winter's eve, no matter where you are, when the snow is falling through the trees, is existence stripped back to the elements. It is the Ice Age returned in miniature. Let's just slowly release from this. Take your time, there's no hurry. Little by little, inch that bolster out. And just take a moment here with your knees still in. Just hang out or have a sway if that feels good. Few breaths, you might feel some coolness, tingling, numbness in the lower back. That's perfectly natural. Cellular regeneration. And then we're going to move slowly towards our final resting posture, whatever that is for you. Maybe you're flat on your back, maybe you've got the bolster under your knees, maybe you want to be in a completely different, relaxing posture. Settle on down. Make those little adjustments, make sure you're warm and cozy. So there he is, collecting his holly. The snow's starting to fall again. Snow makes everything old, including us, who stoop in its face. As I blundered along, shoulders hunched, my fingers laced through the holly sprigs for my house. I found something sitting before me on the path. vixen, quite oblivious to the weather and to me, even through pelting snow and half light, her fur lustered. She burned alive, the red, red fox. Then it struck me, red is the colour of the countryside in December. The fox, the holly berries, the huntsman's jacket, the robin singing over its winter territory. The vixen screamed her mating call. The wail of all the bereaved ever. If I had been cold before, I was even colder then. She howled again and cocked her ears for a response. Nothing came back over the fields or through the trees. We were only 3 or 4 yards apart when something alerted her. A sixth sense, a movement by me, and she turned and saw me. She was the very picture of wild grace against the snow. The wood in a snowstorm at dusk belongs to the animals. With an airy disdain for my intrusion, she trotted away to be swallowed in the flailing white flakes. Snow covering. When I reached the edge of the wood by the lane, there were blue shadow tracks in the snow. 3 hares had crept from the stubble field into the lee of an ash tree, and I saw that the velvet buds on the ash were fully formed and full of promise. The end. So just allowing yourself some time to simply be. starting to become aware of the space that you're lying in. Start to bring a little gentle movement back to your physical body, whether it's hugging in, stretching out like a morning stretch, or rolling onto a side. And start to make your way back to your seat. And we will bring the hands together. Anjali Mudra. Drop the head to the heart. And we say Namaste. Namaste. Thank you for joining me again. And I will see you for the next session. Namaste.